I want to do. I thought for a while back, I was like, I want to be a doctor. I'm going to go to med school. I want to do radiology. And then I changed my mind. I'm like, no, I'm going to go to law school. I like arguing. That's what I want to do. And then I changed. I'm like, well, engineering, that's the way of the future. I want to do engineering. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. But there's so many different types of engineering. And I have no idea where I want to go. I'm like, I could do biomedical engineering because I've always been interested in like physiology and biology. But then this year I'm taking physics. And I always had this idea that I would hate physics because I was always like a math person, but I never actually enjoyed it. And then I got into physics this year, and I'm loving it. I'm like, this is so interesting, and I love all of the applications. And so I'm thinking now, I do want to do some sort of engineering, but I have no idea where to even start looking because there's so many different types. So I guess my question is, when should I know what I want to do? Not necessarily in terms of career, but at least what path, where I want to start looking, and like how do I figure that out? How do I go about that?
I'll answer that. I'll tell you, since I was told to go into engineering, you know how I picked which engineering I went into? I picked the one that made the most money. Okay, that's a lousy way to pick it, by the way, just so that you know, but it worked. And so what I'm going to tell you is that it actually doesn't matter that much, right? I had a lousy reason for picking the engineering that I went into. And yes, it wasn't maybe the very best fit for me, but then, you know, it was a great background. I learned a lot of great things. I adjusted later on. I went into a field of engineering when I finally, you know, 6 years later, figured out maybe what it was that I was interested in. And then things morphed again, and I went into a different field of research, and then I got here and I went into another different field of research, and then I realized, wow, gosh, I really need to know more about biology, and so you have to pick that up. Your life is a path, and it's more important that you progress down it than that you have the exact path worked out at any point in time, and it will change. There's one faculty member here who is an engineer and a physician, and just recently decided, oh, by the way, I should really know more about law, and is going back and getting a JD. I'm not sure I recommend that, but it's certainly, you actually can do it all if you really want to. But, you know, pick something that sounds pretty exciting and start going down that path, and then just course correct as your life goes on, is my advice.
I wanted to be a dentist. When I was, until my junior year in high school, until I had an inspirational biology teacher that took us to see, you know, the world of biology. And for me, at that point, biology was just a biology teacher. I didn't know what, you know, being a scientist, you know, was. And even when I did that and I got my bachelor's degree, and as I was going through my bachelor's degree, I thought I was going to be a marine biologist. And then I took a parasitology class, and I fell in love with parasites. And I knew for sure I didn't want to deal with big animals and open, you know, guts and brains to extract the parasites. So I went with the insects that are not that disgusting as the big animals. But think of what I mentioned about your life and your career as a long chain with links that connect. You know, don't be desperate to find the charm at the end of the road, because you don't know if it's going to come at the end, in the middle, or wherever. But just connect, appreciate, and be aware and attentive of opportunities that will come to you. And you will see how things connect. I have a son, he's a senior in high school, and he's also debating on what he wants to do. I mean, he's going to go to college, he knows for sure that, but he's not, I can tell that he's not 100% convinced of what he wants to be. And that's okay, the opportunity will come. Just be open and take advantage of the things that present to you, and not say no to yourself.
I think too, I'm gonna share something. I am not a scientist. I run communications for a science institute, and I never in a million years thought I would do that. I wasn't trained as a scientist. So I think what I give this talk in the KEYS program in the summer that you don't understand when you're in high school or even in college or even at my age sometimes, is that there are a lot of gap areas that don't have specific names on them. So, you know, engineer, doctor, lawyer, whatever it is that you are thinking about now, you know what, you're gonna, as they've all said, you're gonna go through the different steps of your career. You're gonna meet people. You're going to get involved in things that you like, that you don't like. It's going to lead you to the next step in your path and the next, and you're gonna meet other people, and you're gonna wind up exactly where you're supposed to be, because there's so many gap areas for careers in STEM or otherwise that you would never know existed until you start walking that path. So just be aware that you might not have the perfect answer for a really long time, but probably you'll end up where you're supposed to be. Any other questions until last question, and then we can have some more networking at the end.
So first of all, thank you very much for organizing this beautiful event. And I'm a PhD student in STEM. So my question is that when did you and how did you decide to pursue a career in academia? And what was the main trigger for this decision?
So is this on? Okay, yeah. Okay, so for me, it happened, I had an idea when I was towards the end of my undergraduate career. Before I decided to be an academic, I wanted to be a biology teacher. And so I was really passionate about teaching. I mean, I consider acting, being a police, I consider law, I consider many things. So I was pretty set on that, but then I have a research opportunity as an undergraduate, and that's when I met kind of like the other side of the professors, what they did in their labs. And then I realized that I could do research and teach at the same time, and that's what really made me want to be a professor. And then after that was refined through, graduate school, when I got to see a little bit more what they do and got, the experience and the training. And then as a postdoc, I got to see what they do in the lab, how to run the lab, and kind of have some tryouts trying to do the lab myself. So it was early on, I kind of got the idea. I realized that I could do, teach and do research at the same time, satisfy my curiosity. But then it was refined over time.
So I went to graduate school because I really liked science. I think I thought that I would have a lot of different opportunities afterwards, and I would just kind of pick later, because I don't think I really knew what I wanted to do, and I don't think becoming a professor was like the top of my list at all. But then after the PhD, and I was in a postdoc, and I started to explore different career options and look at what careers look like in industry. And at the same time, I had so many of my fellow graduate students who were getting professorships, and they were all dudes. And I started to get really upset about that I went to a good school, and a lot of my female counterparts were not moving into the next step, and I just got really confused about it. And I think I actually made a list of like the different things that I felt like you needed to be good at to be a professor or to be in academia. And what I liked about it was very diverse. There's the research, there's the analytical part, but there's, communicating and collaborating. You can't really be a one-sided scientist in the world today. I felt like it was gonna draw on all assets and all different parts of me and make me feel challenged all the time. And so then that's what I decided I wanted to do. And it's true, like I am, if I ever watch the clock, it's because I'm like running out of time, because things go by so fast and you're busy and you're engaged and always challenged. So those were the kind of things that motivated me.
Well, I don't know about you, but I learned a lot tonight. Thank you to our panel. Amazing. I feel blessed every day that I get to learn from people like this. So we're very excited we got to share that with you tonight. Thank you for giving up your Friday evening to be here with us. I know that's valuable time, and rushing here after work and a weekend, that's pretty awesome that you were here. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask one-on-one, I know that our panelists and Dr. Galatano would be more than happy to talk to you for a few more minutes, so feel free to come on up. Otherwise, please eat the food in the back. Otherwise, I'll have to take it home. Do not need to do that. Thank you very much.